Hey everyone, welcome to our Module 4, Physical Activity for Social Wellness Teacher Support video for the Understanding Physical Activity for Wellness modules we've been putting out the last couple weeks. We'd like to welcome everyone back, and if you're new, we'd like to welcome you specifically. And if this is the first teacher support video that you've watched, be sure to watch the teacher support videos from modules 1, 2, and 3 for the absolute clearest picture of what we're trying to do here. We made some iterations and you can kind of see the progress of how we got here, so it's helpful, we think, to do that. There are a couple additional videos if you're interested. This video right here, and if you click on the link, it'll take you to the video, provides an overview of the purpose behind these modules. We've got some general commentary and some design tips by clicking on these links if you're interested. As always, teaching is a reflective process, so be sure through all of this to reflect on how you're doing, how things are going, and especially the growth that you've made. We recognize that this might be an uncomfortable time for you all, and I think it's important, and we think it's important to celebrate the growth that you stepped into this uncomfortable modality of teaching online, and we think you're doing fine. And tell yourself that, and think about all the successes that you've had, but also the successes that your students have had. And if things have been a little bit bumpy, be sure to identify the things that could be improved and make those improvements. I think we're all learners here. We're all sort of new to this, so you can make those improvements without too much fear. If you've been using the modules for a couple weeks or been using online learning for a couple weeks and you find yourself here, we kind of have a bit of a higher view now that we've been at this for a little bit. And I think we can begin to think about what students are exposed to every day. And there's probably a lot of screen time from the e-learning that other teachers are providing. And that's a concern to us, especially as physical educators, because we want kids off their butts and moving around more than they're sitting around staring at a screen. So, one question we want to encourage you to ask is, how can your instructional decisions support all the things that we want? We want kids to be able to learn through movement that's meaningful and enjoyable to them. We don't want to be contributing too much to the screen time and work burden to students because we want to support their management and thriving during this time. So how can we make instructional decisions to support all that? Are there ways to get students away from the screen but still engaging in some content while potentially being physically active? Like, could we curate some podcasts, listen to some content, a short podcast while you're out for a walk? Could we create flyers? This new modality of online learning can provide a creative and expressive venue for some of that creativity. So if you're interested, you could try to create flyers. Are there short books that you could suggest to elementary students or middle school students or even high school students? I think the possibilities don't need to be limited to these suggestions, but one question to think about is, how could you help reduce some screen time while maintaining some enriching content as well? As always, new for Module 4, we've got a video presentation, we've got some content slides. We purposefully let the movement resources folder empty. We want you to start transitioning, since we're doing 5 modules and this is number 4, we want to start transitioning into engaging more, taking a more active role. So we think that you can provide some resources for your students. If you haven't yet, start asking them what they might prefer or suggestions that they might enjoy, and start adding it to your own folder for your own students to use. We have still provided Align and Meaningful Assessment ideas if your school district is requiring assessment or if you think that's an important part of your instruction. So feel free to use our assessment ideas at your leisure. Don't forget the shared document folder. Don't forget the shared internet resource folder. Again, this is what you'll see when you get here. We've got the document resources. If you want to share anything that you've developed, you can put it in there for communal use. Similarly, you can share internet resources by plugging in your suggestions in the Excel sheet. If you come into content, Module 4, we've got the assessment resource, movement resource, and watch, listen, and read. Again, there's the content overview here. If you haven't looked at that, you can check that out. But you'll find the module content in the watch, listen, and read folder. Embedded YouTube, we're taking a step up. It's not just a link, it's embedded. So we're iterating here, we're learning new things as well. So you can kind of see our process sort of in front of your eyes, so to speak. So again, YouTube videos recorded. as a model, as a way for you to sort of reduce your own stress, but be thinking about whether or not you might want to try deleting this first slide and recording your voice over the other slides. As always, we like to provide the resources here so you can read up on some of this content and take a shot. Challenge your students to the things that we suggested or add things that you suggest, and discuss social wellness maybe in your own way. Adjust the slides in a way that is aesthetically pleasing to you. Although Shelby did a really nice job on these. These are pretty incredible slides. So you might even think about adding, taking some of these slides and creating a flyer if you want to reduce screen time. But again, we like to provide these for you so you can use them in a way that's best for you and your students. Essential questions: how might the socioecology support or inhibit physical activity engagement? And how does my personal experience vary depending on the social setting of my physical activity engagement? Remember, we went through sort of just understanding physical activity, sedentary behavior, exercise was the first module. Physical activity for physical wellness was the second module. Physical activity for psychological wellness, third module. This one's on social wellness. All of these sort of have a scientific base for promoting physical activity or inhibiting it. So we're trying to couch a lot of this content within the scientific literature. And so what we're talking about this week is social influence and the value of having a good social ecology to support physical activity and avoid those barriers. So we want to try to get students, so as your role as a teacher, you want to hope that they achieve some or all of these objectives. Again, tune these objectives to your students' needs and the sort of expectations of your school and what your students can handle. But these are some suggested cognitive, psychomotor, and affective domain objectives that you might consider using for this module. Remember, again, we want students to manage and thrive during this time, and we want to focus on movement that's meaningful to them. So we're suggesting looking at this Meaningful PE blog website about meaningful health and physical education at home, but we suggest looking at additional resources because these researchers and thinkers in our field have been putting a lot of thought into how we can help make movement meaningful and move beyond just a task orientation or skill development into meaningful movement. And think about what your school's requiring and make decisions to best support your students throughout all of that. And that might mean adjusting what we provided. That might mean adjusting essential questions. That might mean adjusting assessments. But that's your role as a teacher, and we understand that, and we try to set up how we present the content so that you can use it and customize it to your own students. Again, think beyond these extended school closures. To what extent does their psychological, and let's just go sociological wellness influence your instructional decisions? Is your content knowledge solid in these areas? And we can even ask physical here. If this is an area that's a little bit uncomfortable for you to maybe teach right now, check in with the resources at the end of each module. This module has them as well. Do some reading so that maybe you'd be able to teach some of this stuff in your face-to-face classes when you return to that. But know that the more that you synthesize right now, the modules that you build now, the more sort of they come together in something that's cohesive, the higher likelihood you'll have to be able to use them again in the unfortunate event that we have something like this happen. But you also might consider using them over Christmas break for students to voluntarily engage with, or provide some extended voluntary summer learning or supplemental learning during some of your courses. There's a lot of different ways that online learning can be used. It doesn't have to be during extended school closures or in a remote sense, but be thinking about that as you create, as you curate, as you develop your own content, or use ours as well. Again, make a copy of the content. So you come in here, if you see some assessments that you like, you click on the assessment, right click. You can download it by clicking here, or you can make a copy by clicking here to your own Google Drive. We can't give students access to this because there's hundreds of students using this by now. But what you can do is you can right click on any of the content, even the videos. You can right click, download it to your local management, like your desktop, so you can upload it to your learning management system. You can provide links to the YouTube videos, or you can copy it and paste it to your own Google Drive. But we can't grant access to the content, but you can download it, make it your own, and use it as you see fit. And also be mindful of colleagues who might not be active on social media. That's kind of where we're disseminating this. Feel free to share the Google link via email, via text, and support their use as well. VoiceOver, the main content is here. It's also in the Watch, Listen, and Read folder. We've got iMovie recordings, iPad screen records, and how to add your face to a screen recording. These are all videos that we made to support you, that Shelby made to support you, and you can find these resources here. At the end of the day, we got to find the good in all this, and we hope that this is an enriching experience for you. You stepped out of your comfort zone. You're making an effort to provide meaningful content, make it your own. So celebrate that. Also remember to take care of yourself, take a break, take some screen time, take a Sabbath from all the work, and think about the progress that you've made and how you've supported your students through all this. We wish you all the best. We'll check back in next week for Module 5 with new content materials and teacher support. And we want you to, this module this week, we want you to be thinking about creative ways you can help students reduce screen time. All the best, and we'll check back in next week. Take care, everybody.